from that same meeting he was sleeping at.
Yeah. So Donald Trump woke up during his White House meeting long enough to realize, like, oh, there's going to be a problem. Right after Mamdani won, he said, we've got to do more on affordability. And then somehow somebody got to him or something happened in his brain, and he, within 24 hours, had gone the complete opposite way. And now he just seems to be annoyed by it for some reason. And it's unclear why he's so annoyed by this. Maybe it's because inflation is up and he's afraid of basically, you know, he's read a little George Lakoff and he's like, don't mention an elephant or don't think of an elephant. If you talk about the need for affordability, the predicate of that is things are too expensive. And that means that people are noticing that there's inflation. Remember, this is the same guy who said, don't let the boat come in that has the people with the COVID because then we'll have COVID.
Yep.
It was like, yeah, don't test.
Don't test, or people will know we have COVID. Right. If you don't test, there's no COVID.
The numbers don't go
When
up.
you think of him as just a marketing savant and being a total dumbass in every other area, it solves some things, I think, in terms of understanding his psychology.
And it didn't have much of an impact because the prices were very high. But our prices now for energy, but for gasoline are really low. Electricity's coming down. And when that comes down, everything comes down. But the word affordability is a Democrat scam. They say it, and then they go on to the next subject. And everyone thinks, oh, they had lower prices. No, they had the worst inflation in the history of our country. Now, some people will correct me, because I always love to correct me, even though I'm right about everything. But some people like to correct me, and they say 48 years. I say it's not 48 years, it's much more. But they say it's the worst inflation that we've had in 48 years. I say ever. But whether it's 48 years or ever, it's pretty bad. We had the worst inflation that we've ever had.
Oh, God. It's exhausting.
You know, but he's clearly worried about this affordability thing because he sees it all over the place, and he cannot hide from the fact that prices are up, that we have essentially a split economy. You could see it. This Black Friday was the highest revenue ever. Now, there's two things that are operating in that instance. One, it could be a function of prices being higher. And two, the other issue is that you have such incredible wealth disparity in this country that, and we now know statistics show that much of our consumer economy is driven by the top 20% of the income distribution.
Yep. That's where, like, what was it? The top 20%? 10%, I think, is accounting for half of all consumer spending. That says it all.
That says it all.
And this is the same, like, I mean, this is part of what lost Biden the election, too, was relying on these traditional economic indicators and then Kamala Harris losing the election because their line was basically like these traditional economic indicators show the economy's hot, it's growing, and like that's true. But it was still a very similar dynamic where 80% of the country wasn't feeling those economic gains. It's just like the naturally incurring inflation at the beginning of Biden's term was largely unavoidable, but Trump has supercharged the inflated prices with the tariffs, which was entirely avoidable.
And understand what's going to happen with the tariffs. Costco has sued.
Yes.
Now, they sued because they were concerned about the statute of limitations ending before the Supreme Court rules on the tariffs. And so you're seeing like a bunch of companies are going to be suing. A bunch of them are suing so that they can, at the very least, meet the statute of limitations. You have to sue within a certain period of time from the tariffs being issued, I guess.
Yep.
And I don't know how the Supreme Court will handle it if they address the legality of these afterwards. But aside from the fact that the U.S. government may have to pay back billions, hundreds of billions of dollars to these companies, I can assure you that these companies who largely passed on these costs to the consumer, are not going to send checks to the consumers. What they're going to do is they're just going to take, there's going to be a big shareholder distribution. Now, of course, you've got guys like the Lutnick sons, Uday and Kusei, who have bought up a lot of like essentially the claims, and I bet you they have sued, claims to a tariff rebate. But this is also going to exacerbate wealth disparity because the money has been taxed essentially from anybody who had to buy goods. It goes into this sort of like escrow account that is the government. The Supreme Court's going to end up ruling that these tariffs are not legal. A bunch of this money is going to, the U.S. Treasury is going to have to pay a bunch of this money back to these corporations. And the corporations are just going to have it as like a shareholder distribution.
Yeah. I mean, I'm also curious about the rise of these buy now, pay later companies that are completely unregulated, but are at basically every checkout where you're looking to buy something. There was an article earlier this year where Katrina vanden Heuvel was pointing this out, like that DoorDash did a partnership with Klarna earlier this year. So like say you need to buy $30 for your meal, you do that in 4 installments. And if you miss a payment, then the interest rate is incredibly high.
People are financing their takeout.
Right. Meaning like if you can't afford to pay for your meal at the beginning, like in one payment, you're not going to have that money most likely. And that's the bet of these companies in 4 weeks or whatever. You're going to need to make one of those payments. And so they also offer higher, smaller payments over a longer period of time, but with higher interest rates as well. And of course, the cop's completely off the beat under the Trump administration. So consumer spending might be high, but it doesn't mean that like people aren't going into the cycle of debt. We have reached an all-time high of consumer debt right now. It was month over month, missed car payments and defaults keep rising. And so that's the indication about like what this economy actually looks like.
There was a record number spent on Black Friday, despite the fact that fewer items were bought. Like that tells you everything.
It says everything. And God, we haven't even gotten the tax cuts yet for the rich. That's next year, right? Mm-hmm. So.
Prehipio. My friend just finally looked at her finances. Her Klarna account is 39% annual percentage rate.
Jesus Christ.
Like
these are like payday lenders that are basically at your checkout for Macy's or whatever.
And the scam is that they say like, well, it's actually no interest if you do it in this for 4 installments.
Yep. And that's for people that are using that regularly. They're betting on that not happening.
Why is it that in America, this is what we've been doing? This is the sort of advancements that we've been making. And you have other countries that have like massive infrastructure. It's because in America, the only thing that our political economy is geared toward is making more money for the people who make money with money. It's not about producing things. Like this is why we're financier. It's why we're fixated on AI now, because that's money for nothing for whoever deploys it. We're just so fixated not on building things but making money.
Hey folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.